The stronger you become, the fewer people understand you. I am Roronoa Zoro, and if you truly want strength, prepare to walk alone. Because discipline isolates people. Most people say they want greatness, but very few are willing to live the lifestyle required for it. They want results without sacrifice, confidence without suffering, respect without discipline. That's why they stay average. Real growth demands separation. The moment you become serious about improving yourself, your life changes. You sleep differently, think differently, spend your time differently, and suddenly, people stop relating to you. Because discipline creates distance. While others waste hours chasing distractions, you train. While others complain about life, you endure silently. While others seek comfort, you seek growth. That mindset feels lonely. Not because you hate people, but because your priorities no longer match theirs. Most people fear isolation. I don't. Because isolation reveals truth. When the noise disappears, you finally meet yourself, your weaknesses, your excuses, your fears. That confrontation is brutal. Most people distract themselves constantly because they're afraid of sitting alone with their own thoughts. But warriors do the opposite. They enter solitude intentionally because silence sharpens the mind. Isolation builds discipline. Loneliness reveals character. That's why strength is born in dark places. Early mornings, empty gyms, silent struggles nobody applauds. That's where powerful people are created. Not in comfort, in isolation. And understand this clearly, the path of discipline will cost you relationships. Not everyone will understand your obsession, your focus, your sacrifices. Some people will call you cold, too serious, too distant. Let them. Because average people always misunderstand disciplined people. Why? Because discipline exposes weakness. Your consistency reminds them of their excuses. Your focus reminds them of their wasted potential. Your growth reminds them they stayed comfortable. That's why self-improvement often creates distance. Not everyone can walk beside someone becoming stronger every day. And honestly, that's okay. Because loneliness is better than surrounding yourself with people who slowly weaken your mind. Weak environments create weak people. That's why isolation can become power. When you spend enough time alone improving yourself, your standards rise, your discipline deepens, your mind sharpens, and eventually, you stop fearing loneliness completely. Because you realize something dangerous. The time spent alone was actually transforming you into someone stronger than before. Most people cannot handle being alone. The silence scares them, because silence forces self-awareness. No distractions, no fake validation, no noise covering the truth. Just you. And the reality of who you are becoming. That's why isolation feels painful at first, because when you're alone long enough, you start seeing your weaknesses clearly. Your laziness, your inconsistency, your excuses, your lack of discipline. Most people run from that realization. They drown themselves in entertainment, social media, temporary comfort, meaningless conversations, anything to avoid confronting themselves honestly. But warriors do something different. They stay in the silence. Because deep down, they understand something powerful. Growth begins the moment excuses disappear, and isolation kills excuses quickly. When nobody is around to motivate you, you discover whether your discipline is real. When nobody is watching, you discover your true character. That's the dark truth about discipline. It is built privately before it is ever seen publicly. People admire strength later, but they never witness the lonely process that created it. The empty nights training alone, the sacrifices nobody respected, the emotional battles fought silently. That's the hidden side of greatness. Isolation becomes a forge, a brutal place where weak habits die and stronger identities are created. That process changes people deeply. You become emotionally independent, more focused, harder to distract. Because when you spend enough time alone chasing growth, you stop craving constant attention from others. You stop needing approval. That's freedom. Most people are controlled by validation. They need people to believe in them before they believe in themselves. They need applause to stay motivated. They need attention to feel valuable. That mindset creates weakness, because the moment support disappears, their discipline disappears too. But isolation teaches a different mentality. You learn how to continue, without praise, without recognition, without anyone understanding your struggle. That creates dangerous resilience, because now your motivation comes from purpose, not attention. And once someone reaches that level of focus, they become difficult to stop. That's why lonely people often become strong people. Not because loneliness itself is magical, but because isolation forces evolution. You either grow mentally or collapse emotionally. There is no middle ground. That's why discipline requires solitude sometimes, not to escape the world, but to rebuild yourself away from its distractions. And honestly, the strongest version of me was created during the moments nobody saw. At first, loneliness feels like punishment. You notice the silence more, the distance more, the absence of people more, and sometimes you question if all this sacrifice is worth it. That's the dangerous stage, because most people return to comfort there. They lower their standards, lower their discipline, lower their ambitions, just to feel accepted again. But the people who become powerful, they endure the isolation. That's the turning point. The moment loneliness stops feeling painful and starts becoming fuel. Because eventually, you realize something important. Being alone is not the same as being empty. In fact, solitude can make you stronger than constant company ever could. Why? Because isolation removes distractions. No unnecessary noise, no fake relationships, no people slowing your growth. Just focus, discipline, purpose. That environment sharpens people mentally. You begin thinking more clearly, training harder, controlling your emotions better. Because when you spend enough time alone, you stop depending on external energy completely. You become self-driven. That mindset is dangerous. Because now, motivation becomes internal. You train because of your standards. You improve because weakness disgusts you. You continue because stopping no longer feels acceptable. That level of discipline changes everything. You stop chasing short-term comfort. You become obsessed with long-term strength. And once someone reaches that mentality, their entire presence changes. They speak less, observe more, move with purpose, because solitude taught them awareness. That's why disciplined people often feel emotionally distant, not because they hate others, but because isolation changed their mindset permanently. They no longer connect with shallow thinking, shallow habits, shallow goals. Their mind became too focused for that lifestyle. That's the dark side of growth. The stronger you become mentally, the fewer people truly understand you. And honestly, that's fine, because greatness was never meant to feel crowded. Most people choose comfort. Only a few choose transformation. That's why the road of discipline feels lonely. Few people are willing to suffer long enough to become powerful. But if you survive that loneliness, something incredible happens. You stop fearing isolation completely, because now you understand that solitude was never your enemy. It was the thing shaping you into someone stronger than before. So now, you finally understand the truth. Strength has a price, and one of those prices is loneliness. Not everyone will walk beside you while you evolve. Some people will leave when you become too focused, too disciplined, too different from who you used to be. Let them leave, because growth changes people. The stronger your mindset becomes, the less tolerance you have for distractions, excuses, weak habits. That transformation creates distance naturally. And honestly, most people will never understand it. Why? Because they want comfort more than greatness. They want easy rewards, quick success, constant entertainment. But discipline demands the opposite: sacrifice, consistency, isolation. That's why powerful people are rare. Very few are willing to suffer long enough to become mentally unbreakable. Most quit when loneliness appears. But warriors continue anyway. Because eventually, they realize solitude is not weakness. It's preparation. Preparation for higher standards, stronger focus, greater control over the mind. That's what isolation gave me. Not sadness, clarity. The ability to hear my own thoughts without the world's noise controlling me. The ability to sharpen discipline without distraction weakening me. The ability to become stronger without needing anyone to notice. That's real power, not attention, self-mastery. And once someone masters themselves, their entire life changes. Because now, they no longer depend on motivation, or validation, or approval from weak-minded people. They move with purpose alone. That mindset becomes terrifying. Because disciplined people are difficult to stop. They already defeated the hardest enemy, their old self. The lazy self, the distracted self, the emotional self that once wanted comfort over growth. Isolation destroyed that version, and in its place, it built someone sharper, calmer, more dangerous mentally. That's why loneliness should not scare you anymore. If your path requires isolation, walk it proudly, because every hour spent improving yourself alone is separating you from weakness. And one day, all the lonely nights, the silent sacrifices, the painful discipline nobody respected, will transform you into someone impossible to ignore. That's the reward of solitude, not temporary comfort, permanent strength. So if becoming stronger means standing alone sometimes, good. Stay alone, train harder, grow silently, and let the results speak louder than words ever could. So tell me, if discipline required losing comfort, losing distractions, even losing people who no longer understand you, would you still walk the lonely path? Or would you choose comfort and stay weak forever? Comment, stay alone.